That would be a really good fight for both fighters. I do know that Sergey has the grit and he has skill beyond belief. He's a really talented guy. I don't know who would win that fight, even though I've been in there with both guys. May the best man win if it were to happen. I just think Golovkin is trying to go down the line of scrubs, and it's just about what sells right now. I think Triple G, being that he was promoted as the devastating monster, I think the tides are kind of flipped now. I don't think everyone is running from him. I think everyone is gunning after him now. So that kind of tells you the way boxing is, the way boxing works. If Sergey was to get that opportunity, I'd be more than happy for him. I guess it makes business sense because Sergey's probably not the biggest name in the world. But I mean, if we're talking about true love for the sport, and we're talking about two champions, and we're talking about all they made this guy up to be, he has to come and he has to execute that. Those are the words of Danny Jacobs. He's talking about Gennady Golovkin, and one of the potential opponents they're talking about Golovkin facing is Sergiy, let me butcher this name right now, people, Derevyanchenko. Alright, Sergiy Derevyanchenko. He is an unbeaten contender. Forgive me if he's not unbeaten, I believe he is. And I think he's handled by Lou DiBella, and they've been pushing for a fight with Golovkin, Derevyanchenko against Golovkin, because obviously Canelo was dropped out. Jacobs has sparred with this individual, and so he's in a fairly decent position to be able to gauge how good the guy is, and he would like to see the fight, as you heard there. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, one of the front runners to take on Gennady Golovkin is actually Vanes Martirosyan. Now, Vanes Martirosyan is a very, very well-established, well-known junior middleweight contender. He's never been a world champion, so why he's in the running to fight Golovkin at middleweight is beyond me. It's not like it's a current champion or a former multi-weight world champion that's going to move up to face Golovkin at 160. No, this is a guy who's never held a belt, a guy who's been a career 154-pounder. He's never fought at middleweight, as far as I'm aware. I think there might have been one fight very early on in his career where he weighed like 158 or something, but for all intents and purposes, that was just, some fight against a journeyman. He's never actually really weighed middleweight other than that one fight, which was against a journeyman, which don't really matter. So he's a career light middleweight, never been a champion, had several losses, and this is the guy Golovkin's considering bringing up to 160 to face him for the middleweight title. How would Martirosyan even get ranked? He's never fought at 160. You guys have to explain this to me because I don't understand it. But he's one of the front runners apparently for challenging Gennady Golovkin. And another one of the guys is Spike O'Sullivan, but Spike O'Sullivan has apparently been ruled out now. And O'Sullivan says that he was offered the Golovkin fight, he accepted, and then the money was halved. And after the money was halved, he says he then pulled out because he said, look, that's not the money you initially offered me, so I'm not going to go ahead with it. That's Spike O'Sullivan's story. I don't know what's going to happen here. They might have to scrap the date altogether. They're obviously desperately trying to salvage it because they want to keep Golovkin's momentum going. They want to keep Golovkin in the public consciousness, and they want to try and take advantage of the fact that Canelo couldn't fight and his reputation is at an all-time low at the moment in terms of his, credibility with the public. It's at a low because of the failed doping test situation. So Team Golovkin want to take advantage of that as best they can. Fighting the likes of Martirosyan or a Spike O'Sullivan, it would probably result in a spectacular knockout, particularly if he fought Spike O'Sullivan for Triple G. And that would impress a lot of casuals. And it's mainly casuals who buy these big pay-per-views, whether it's in the UK, the United States, or anywhere. It's mainly casuals. And Team Golovkin understand that. They understand that, you know, whether they fight Derevyanchenko or whether they fight O'Sullivan or Martirosyan, the casuals are not really going to differentiate much between these fighters because the casuals haven't heard of any of them. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Who should Gennady Golovkin fight? How would any of those fights go? Particularly Derevyanchenko, because I've never seen him fight before. I've been hearing about his name, but I've never personally watched him fight yet. So, as far as I'm aware anyway, because you know these guys crop up on undercards and stuff like that, and I watch a lot of the big fights in the United States. Maybe I've seen him, I just didn't realize who it was at the time. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section, and what is the latest information on who Golovkin's potential opponents could be? Is there anybody else in the running? I know his trainer, Abel Sanchez, apparently said he'd like Danny Jacobs, the Danny Jacobs rematch, but was that just bluster? Danny Jacobs doesn't seem very convinced that Golovkin wants the rematch anytime soon. So, I mean, I get it. Golovkin, he's getting up there in age now. What is he, 36 or something, 37? And he is trying to get that Canelo rematch. You know, as much as he's been insulting Canelo, and that's all understandable, he's trying to get that rematch. He's trying to get the rematch in September. And after that, maybe then he'll fight all these other guys who are gunning for him. But until he gets the Canelo rematch, I don't think he wants to take any risks if he can help it. Let me know how you feel, people. I'm out.